All right. What's up, the real Kevin Duffy? Thanks for coming on the show, man. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me, Jason. Anybody who will let me talk, I'll squawk away. So you'll probably have to cut me off at some point in time, but I'm happy to be on.
That probably won't happen if you've listened to the show. We go on as long as the content is good. We'll get after it. So I'm excited to have you on. I've followed you on Instagram and socials for some time, and I love your passion, love your energy, and I think you're just really, really good at what you do. And I haven't had a fitness guy on in a while, so this is going to be a really great conversation. So take us back to the beginning, man. Tell us how you got to where you are. Give us a little lineage on your career thus far.
Yeah, happy to. Happy to represent for the a small group of golf fitness people out there. So I started as a little bit more traditional as far as strength and conditioning goes. I'm not breaking any molds by being a football kid who found his way into strength and conditioning, but um, when I graduated high school, I knew I was going to coach or be in strength and conditioning at some point. I didn't know it was athletic training, physical therapy, or some of those routes. So I picked a football school that had those things. I started in Division two football in Connecticut, and then I found my way to a smaller school with much smaller linemen for me to compete against. Big guys hit very hard. It's easier if you're a smaller, faster guy to hit smaller guys. So I ended up at Division three, and then instead of chasing graduate school, I decided to hunt down as many opportunities as I could. So I spent about 5 months down in Pensacola, Florida, working with injured military veterans, NFL free agents. I was working with all sorts. I got the most out of learning. Like you have to learn a lot if you're working with a guy with one leg. So
Sure.
anybody comes in my weight room, they're like, "Oh, I have a bad back." I'm like, "Yeah, that's easy. That's no problem." I've legitimately worked with people with missing limbs. They laugh. I was like, "That's not a joke." Um, yeah, so after that, I went into the hockey world because in the Boston area, take your pick, throw a rock, you'll find the best hockey school in the area. So I was at Northeastern for quite some time, and at Northeastern, I learned a lot about like how the body rotates, how you could move. Like they're in the weeds there, so they have like some good biomechanics material there. So I started my you know, didn't know I was going to end up in golf, but I started some of the things that I've used from golf in the hockey space.
Mm.
After that, I, bounced around to either, college coaching or, some commercial gym work, filling in, and I eventually fell in love with the golf fitness space. So I've been in the golf fitness world since probably 2018,
Nice.
2017, somewhere around there. And one of my two first golf clients, uh, uh, both of them are still with me to this day. So that's kind of like a badge of honor for me. Like
That's huge.
they were legitimate guinea pigs. I was like, I think this is helpful for golf. Like I was like, this looks like a golf pattern. So, after that we went TPI one, TPI two, TPI three, and then I started to see some results from a lot of the people for what we were doing and how I would take it very simple, whereas a lot of fitness coaches would take it super complex to make it look like
Yeah.
the golf swing. I'd reverse engineered it because that's how I learned from, my mentors from top to bottom. They'd be like, just because you have an elite athlete in front of you doesn't mean a deadlift doesn't still help their hamstrings. So just because you want to give them a deadlift on a Bosu ball and they can probably do it and it'll look cool on Instagram doesn't mean that it is the proper use, and just, trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. And so I built quite the brand from there that allowed me in 2020 to open up. Yeah, don't do this. Open up a gym in Massachusetts during the middle of the pandemic, and that's what I did. So
I love it.
we rolled the dice in 2020, and I opened up my own gym specializing in golf fitness, called Rotational Power Strength in 2020. So we've been rolling ever since.
Yeah, it's a good segue because I wanted to start with a tweet or an X. whatever you want to call
You got to
it.
call it a tweet still, right?
Yeah, I think so. Been there from the
Yeah.
beginning, right? That you said that I thought was really applicable to what you just mentioned, and it said, in my opinion, you should be loading patterns that will help your golf swing improve. That does not mean you should be loading the movement that closely resembles your golf swing. Work one piece at a time. And I thought your comment at the bottom was actually even more relevant. Is golf training myths still exist? Social media still makes training out to be sexy and complex. I'm sure it can be done simply and with fantastic results. So there's so many parallels there to golf instruction, because I still think the best coaches, we understand the complex, but we're able to deliver the message to our players in a pretty simple-ish manner. Like the golf swing's not simple, as you know. So
Hmm.
comment on that, and like, what do you think? Do the simple things savagely well for uncommon results, I think is just fantastic. So
Yeah, that's painted on our wall just in case me or my head coach forget. Right? Hey, keep it simple. You know, the that that tweet came from a conversation I had with a coach, Peter, down at Farmington, Virginia, because we were working in groups, and every group kind of breaks out to be a little bit different. But what I spent a lot of time on this one group, and kind of like afterwards when we, decompress and I don't know what it is, but right after you coach, just 3 hours
right.
straight, I was like, hey, we need to decompress. Let's talk about this session and preferably grab a beer. So the tweet kind of came out of our conversation because I spent a lot of time with one of these, actually both of the gentlemen that were in that semi-private group. We were talking about how their concept of golf fitness did not meet what their needs were. And their concept of golf fitness may directly be to what I also use to, you know, grab insight or excite people about training with me is social media. So I'm going to use that tool because obviously I, would like more clients to come into my gym. But if I show a 180 box jump, I'm assuring you that they're not skipping jumping rope or learning how to land. I'm just showing you the sexy, cool thing. So someone's like, "Oh, I saw this thing to gain club head speed, and he jumped, and you throw a ball." I was like, "Can you jump?" He's like, "Yeah." I looked at his jump. I was like, "Your landing's terrible." So, in my opinion, it does not. It's not about how I can get as close to the swing as possible with a weight in my hand, as it is to learn how to separate. Okay, that's one exercise. Learning how to balance, that's a different exercise. Learning how to hinge, learning how to set up. Those are all different exercises. If I try to address all four at once, I'm kind of missing the point. So
And you're
same
probably
thing
over
with
coaching, right? I mean, that's the same thing as far as teaching, right? You got to take it one step at a time to get to the bigger picture of the movement.
yeah, more words are not always better.
Correct.
There's I've sat in a lot of rooms and some of the best say the least. So
Absolutely.
I've noticed that in the higher level coaches from either, hockey, football, whatever, it can be as simple as, hey, you see that position that you're in right here? I never want you to get there again. Okay. That's not up for debate. There's no question. I don't want you to get there because he,
Yeah.
he might know why. I might know why sitting in the room. This guy might not know why, but if his coach just said never ever again, okay, probably question over. But yeah, it's there's no need to overcomplicate something that you know can be done easily. Now, if you're talking about the elite level golfer and there's like a 1% change that we're looking for in their backswing and like we're really working on their spine, like I might need to load a pattern where they're pulling on a band. Sure, it, it's it's coaching to the masses versus coaching to the tip of the spear that'll make the biggest difference. So, if I get the guy who's the 1% who could just learn to do a rib roll, we're probably still going to see some success for that backswing analogy I just gave. Versus like, hey, like John just walked in from working a 9 to 5, hunched over a desk, and he happens to be the club champion. Like, I know we can help you.
Yeah. Yeah. it's sort of it's tough to explain, but yeah, it doesn't necessarily. That's why the guys that I work with now, honestly, like not to bash TPI because I think TPI is awesome. They don't teach people to like move like golf,
Mm.
right? They just teach people functional motion, right? That allows me to do my job better to get people to move how I want them to move, right? It's like when we communicate to, and I'm sure that's basically what you're describing. It doesn't always have to look like a golf swing in order to be, you know, applicable to making you better at golf.
Yeah, and what I found is that TPI is just a tool, right? Everybody
Right.
is going to use the tool, and that's how they set it up. If when you go sit down in some of their sessions, like Lance Gill and Jason Glass are their director on their advisory board. I will call those guys on a regular basis, and they're talking about how they're going to use the screen as a tool to help their people. Not from a sales standpoint, like their screen has helped me more than it's hurt me because it's a talking point, right? It's a
Yeah.
jump off point. It's like, hey, remember that screen we did? Yeah, okay, you can't do it, and here's the exercise that we're doing to fix it. Okay, great. Sometimes at some point in time, right, if I'm going to bill somebody for my session, I also want them to have a take home and their app is finally updated from when I first started. It was a piece of paper. Oh man, now I can just have them app, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. Here's your mobility homework. Please go do that. I'll know you won't do it because the app tells me if you've signed in or not.
Yeah.
So if you come in on Monday, I evaled you on Friday, and your dot is still yellow or red, I know you haven't done the workout and you have no questions. I definitely know you haven't done the workout. So I love them for that from the accountability standpoint. Oh man, it makes my like, hey, did you work on that mobility work? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, so TPI is a tool that they want you to use. I use their screen, and then I kind of have like my RPS additional pieces
Right.
based on what I need to see. But you should be like every education that you go through. It should be a tool in your tool bag. It should be how you identify yourself.
Yeah. How many other sort of influences have you had aside from that? Because I mean, I'm a big TPI guy as well. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's more like it's a good starting point, and then the best coaches or the best performance movement specialists that I've worked with seem to do so many different things that don't look anything like golf, but like
Yeah.
produce those results that we're looking for as swing coaches. Who have been some of the other things, or maybe certifications that you've done that have influenced your career?
Yeah, I would say that I have uh, pulled the most out of my time with Jason Glass, who works with
Yes.
um, you know countless lists, mostly Canadians. But yeah, he works with a lot of players.
Coffee
I don't
with
know what.
coach.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
love those
And
days.
then yeah, he's great. Anytime I get to have coffee with coach is a good morning. The He's another great podcast to listen to. We want to talk about energy. That
Yeah.
guy somehow has me beaten. I got ADD coming out every pore here. The But I took a lot from my time with Jason, and then I pull a lot of the strength pieces from my time with the injured military guys and a time with the hockey guys, guys and girls. I worked with both teams there. But what happens is the hip has a lot of injury history in hockey, obviously. So they do a lot of single limb and they do a lot of twisting. And also, those guys and girls happen to play golf in the off season. So if I get great feedback like, "Hey Duff, I'm hitting bombs," and like look back at their program, like I will go back and be like, "Oh, this is good." Um, but one of the stories I tell, and why I was doing a jump protocol, and I just sent Jason a DM message. I sent him a message because there was a snowboarder who broke his face doing some backcountry stuff, and Jason found some of his jumping protocols based off working with a snowboarder who injured himself.
Hmm.
And I sent him a message. I said, after rehab, I bet this guy will hit bombs again. And Jason was like, hell yeah, he will. And so some of my jumping protocols have some of the extreme sport references that Jason gave me. And Then I add some hockey in there. I add some
Yeah.
football. I add some, uh,
Can
a
you
lot
can
of
you go
time.
into that? Can you go into that a little more like deeper? Because
Yeah.
that's super interesting. Like what I'm big on how the pelvis moves, right? Obviously, as a golf teacher, like what did you learn from those snowboarders, and what are you saying? Like you're leaving some stuff out there that could be gold.
Sorry.
No, no, it's
So
good. Let's go deep.
we're talking like when we talk force curve, right? Everything that comes in goes out. And the wider the gap between the two, the slower the time, the force, we want that impact to be like that. So if we were looking at force plates or we got some type of biofeedback, I want that graph to look as tight of a V as possible. And so if you think about how I learned to train that, I have to train the down as well. So there's a lot of eccentric load when I'm jumping off. And it's called French contrast training. So like if I jump off of a box, land on a box and jump up, that's the contrast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the
Got
up.
it.
If I spend a lot of time on a snowboard, I spend a lot more time force down than force up. So he spent a ton of time working this guy's landing down.
Would
And
that be
so
like the
he,
deceleration piece?
correct.
Because I remember
Yeah.
when I was working with a trainer years ago that was really good. Like I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier. He taught me how to land before he taught me how to jump.
Yeah. So in my here, I'll give you my jump protocols really
I
quickly.
love it.
Ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Jump rope. If you can't jump rope, we're not starting. Okay.
Okay.
I don't care if you haven't jumped rope since you're a kid. Jump rope. From there, it's lateral jumps, unloaded, unbanded, just jumping. Somebody could start like a foot. If they can't jump from their right foot to their left foot, how
Okay.
could I
Yeah.
control
You
90
got
miles an hour club
everybody's
head
gonna
speed?
have to watch the video to get this. This is awesome. This is good.
I'll do more than speak with my hands. I do have an Italian head coach, so he's rubbing off on me. So if you can't jump from your right foot to your left foot or your left to your right, I can't expect you to be able to handle increased club head speed. So it'd be like if I want to jack up this car and I take a Ferrari engine and throw it into a golf cart, we're just gonna crash, right? Sweet.
Right.
You looked awesome going around that straight. Now you took one turn, boom. So if you can't jump right to left, that's my brakes. Okay. From there, we add resistance to that. So it's a band, a bungee, me holding onto the band, whatever it may be at the time, depending on the person. From there, we go banded to unbanded for some distance with less concentration on the landing. Then we start to work in vertical jumps, just straight reach as tall as you can before I even step into box jumps. And box jump variations, 90 degrees, 180, up, down, I
Gotcha.
could keep
Yeah.
going. But from there, it's like kind of splitting hairs. But oftentimes what people see is just the box jump.
Right.
I just rattled off 9 exercises that I would deem more important than the box jump because a lot of times the box jump is just a exaggerated knee tuck with a stomped landing. And if you're lucky, you have a padded box and not a wood box, and you haven't shaved off the front half of your shins. Sorry, CrossFit, but don't do that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, my laundry list before box jumps is so long that I think that's what separates me, because I push the simple stuff a
Yeah.
little bit more frequently, and I think that's what leads to some results. Some of the highest club head speed guys I have in the gym haven't box jumped yet, and they've been with me for about
Interesting.
8 9 months, and honestly they don't need it. I don't need him to box jump.
They're
This
already
guy gets
fast.
a ton of
Yeah.
speed.
That's
Yeah.
what I was wondering because I'd heard it, and I've talked to other, fitness professionals. Is there a correlation between like vertical jumping and club head speed? Have you found that in your players?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's some times that we'll measure. We don't measure all the time.
What do
I
you have
do
force
if
plates that you work with any of your players with force plates or like any of your
so.
students?
I don't have access to force plates. I have a jump plate that we use from time to time, not super frequently. To be honest,
Hmm.
I should probably use it a little bit more just to to prove to my guys
Yeah,
if
just measuring.
if they wanted to. But like
Yeah.
we're getting better. We're in the session for an hour. Like, let's get stuff done instead of being like, look how great you are. Um, but I test their 90-degree broad jump. I put
Interesting.
measurement out. I look at them starting forward jump, rotate right, which is right-handed golfers traditionally will be longer, and forward jump, rotate left, which for me as a left-handed golfer would be longer. If there's a huge differential between right and left, I need to
Hmm.
address that because that means we're leaving some speed on the table somewhere. Either lack of use, under recruitment, not comfortable with it. But if you can't load your trail hip, uh, your swing coach would be happy if I helped you learn how to load your
Yeah.
hip before you transfer. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
just
it's
got Smart to Move just
okay.
recently and starting to collect some data, and I sort of understand ground reaction forces, obviously, and the forces and torques, but it will be interesting to see the correlation. I've worked with Swing Cat, quite a bit as well, but hadn't owned it, right? To some other coaches. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's always interesting when you start integrating, the fitness with the teaching and the biomechanics to kind of see what comes out of it. We start to see a little bit of clue of what the better players and I guess the faster players, doesn't always mean they're better, but the faster players are doing.
yeah. I mean, the stroke scan analytics will tell us that it'll be easier to play better if you are longer.
Sure.
But like I said earlier, sometimes people will come to me for distance, but they might not need distance. You might need control. So if
Right.
this guy's got a high motor and like I said, could jump through the roof, but his landings are crap, he's going to benefit so much more on that decel work, landing
Right.
off of a box or
Yeah.
stepping a stool, even, like I have people laugh. I have a 6-inch box in my gym. It's like, they're like, what am I going to do with this? I was like, oh, you're going to start there because your ankle stability is terrible. So yeah, they're like, what is this little box? I'm like, oh, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a 6-inch like step stool that we use.
Love it. What's the percentage of your clientele are golfers now? And it's higher now than it was. I know you did like a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
lacrosse players and hockey players, obviously up where you're at.
yeah. I would say that my bread and butter is your everyday player, that's going for like the mass mid am or mass amateur club championships. Those are kind of my bread and butter clients. But like I have probably 98% golfers, and the 2% are the husband of a golfer or a wife of a golfer.
Okay.
So those are my
You're
2%, and so they're like, hey, I'm not super into golf, but like, can I train at your gym? Absolutely, no problem. Like, you might notice your core work might look a little golfy, but yeah, I can write. I wrote programs for everyday people well before I wrote programs solely for golfers. So it's a swap of an exercise, a little bit more bicep. It's not it's not crazy, but yeah, we are semi-private and private training in the Boston area, and there's not a lot of people doing what we do in our area, so I'm very happy with. I kind of get to pick and choose who comes into our gym, so it's
right.
it's a good it's a good niche.
Are you connected with some other pros like swing coaches that you're collaborating with? And I'm curious to hear how you guys communicate with when you share players.
Yeah, so I reach out immediately. So if the the best client is the coach is saying, "Hey, I'm sending you him because this." So we have, college players that are, California, Yukon, all over the place. Rutgers, I have like 3 players at Rutgers, so it's like I'm a default Rutgers golf fan right now.
Nice. I got
But
one player from there. I don't know if we should mention.
oh, there we go. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got them all covered right now.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
makes 4 on the team, or one's incoming.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we those are the best connections when the swing coach says, "Hey, Duff, I need you to work on this because he can't move his spine very well." And the other version is like, "Hey, man, I heard you're working with so and so. This is what I found in this eval. Share it. If there's anything you guys are working on in your swing, I'm super happy to have that be a highlight of our session. Um, but a lot of times, some of my clients aren't seeing swing coaches super regularly. I wouldn't say a lot. I would say it's probably 50-50.
Sure.
And if they are, if they're not, when they come back from a lesson, they'll debrief me on what their swing coach said, and I'm like, okay, we can add more of this or less of that, or
Perfect.
kind of take away. There hasn't been, luckily, like any horror stories where any swing coach is like, hey, I don't think they need fitness. Even the guys who don't super enjoy it.
Yeah.
There's one guy who's like, hey, TPI is a big craze. I don't love it that much, but you seem to be helping my guys, so they send me. He's actually one of my best referrals, and he has straight up told me, he's like, I'm not a big fan of fitness for golf. I was like, okay, thank you for the referrals, and by the way, your guys' posture is better now. You're welcome. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, so I mean, it's
Those little
funny though.
kids.
Yeah, he's a interesting cat. I love him though. He sent me like 6 guys, so I'm not gonna
Perfect.
complain.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what are the most common myths that come from functional movement or fitness, in your opinion, that you're hearing? I guess because we get it obviously big time on the teaching side, with all the YouTube videos and people trying to teach themselves. But when they come to you and you get all this regurgitation of like what they think they should or shouldn't do, what are some of the things that you're hearing?
A biggest myth I would say is like, and I don't want to beat the dead horse, but skipping ahead some of those beginner phases because that's
Right.
not what they're seeing the tour truck doing. But the latest what's the Netflix? Oh my God.
Full swing.
Full swing. The
Yep.
latest full swing season, I get texts all the time like, hey, we do that. We do that. We do that. So I'm like, all right, good. Because the first full swing, I don't know, it was too much.
There was a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. There's a lot of
Yeah.
funk going on. Now they're
Yeah.
like, hey, look, that's a hex bar deadlift. I do that one. Oh, that's a chop. I do that one. I do that single leg RDL. I'm like, yes, you do. So, I would say that's one, but I was just actually on my Instagram today. I did like a little Q&A with my head coach on like what we are seeing with our new evals, because our new evals tend to be where we find out like, what the craze is, what the current thought is. Somebody came in and thought I was going to change their swing. I said, whoa, hold on. That's not my job at all.
Yeah.
I'm going to upgrade what you do efficiently, and I'm going to add to, the focus point of what you don't do well, with the caveat being that if, for example, that person had poor posture and couldn't turn and now has better posture and can turn, sure, I will have changed your ability to swing, but I'm not over here giving swing lessons. Like, nobody's taking swing tips from me.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can help. I can help you. I can stand behind somebody and be like, "You're not moving your hip efficiently." I have no problem saying that. But as soon as someone's like, "Hey, elbow slot, da da da," I'm like, "Whoa, swing pro. Hey, need some help." I'm getting much better. I'm getting much better. But every once in a while, I'm just like, "Hey, tag," because
Yeah,
I've been
I'm
sitting in
always,
in a
I'm always,
room.
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm always curious because you guys, it's like us trying to get more information from you guys, and like you're trying to get more information from us, and there obviously has to be a little happy medium, so we can sort of speak the same language. But it's like
Yeah.
how much, and I know you're a golfer, so it's like you got to be getting some of it if you're working with a coach. Like how much swing stuff are you really trying to get? But I mean, kudos for you to stay in your lane, right? Because I'm not going to mention any names. I had a fitness coach actually change one of my players' grips one time. That's bold. Oh yeah, like you
Oh,
can't play with that grip. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me?
I would
Like,
change. The only thing that I would be super comfortable, like if somebody was in a non-athletic posture and like had to start the swing by like losing posture, and their swing coach was like, "Hey, you have to do that," I'd be like, "Hey, swing coach, I think we need to get on the same page." But the
yeah,
only thing
100%.
I would be
That's different.
comfortable doing as far as like full like a swing change, I would be comfortable addressing someone's posture,
Sure.
no doubt. Super comfortable. If a swing coach was like, "Hey, that's out of your lane," I'd be like, I would wholeheartedly disagree. Like I teach hip hinge for a living, my man.
Yeah.
I got every hip hinge analogy you can think of where your bum should be in space. I got it cold. I could be 50 beers deep and coach setup. No problem. So the only thing, I'm not touching anybody's grip. That's insane. Someone really changed their grip. That's lunacy.
Yeah.
I would change someone's pop if someone's pop and they're like, I don't know why I can't turn. I'd be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. A little
yeah,
compressed.
I would change it. I would change posture. And if a swing coach is like, I disagree, I'd be like, let's talk about this afterwards.
Yeah.
But that's
I'm
that's
with you
about
there.
that's probably as far as I'd go.
So what about training? Like, as far as I've heard you talk on a few other podcasts about in season and off season training, like what are some of the misconceptions that you're hearing for that? And then I want to
Yeah,
I want
so
to get into some of your exercises that I think they're really good.
yeah, I have the blessing and a curse because I think snow's coming tomorrow
Different
potentially. I
climate
was
than
I
here.
was I was calling yeah, I was calling BS. Yeah, I'm in just outside Boston. It's a little different than South Carolina. Um, I have the blessing and the curse of having a traditional off season in the Northeast. So my short game will go to hell, but all my plays will be stronger.
Yes.
So So I have the blessing of allowing my players to have like a heavy season. But if you think about it, in Arizona, your heavy strength conditioning season would be summer anyway, because all your competitive tournaments and stuff are not going to be June, July, and August.
Mhm.
So allowing yourself to have a focus on increasing your strength with less concern on the soreness that comes from strength conditioning is when you would have your off season. So everybody in Florida or South Carolina or wherever, they'll have their off season. And even if you think about it, their tour players will have an off season on when I'm not super tournament driven. But then the in season goal is just simply maintenance. Now, maintenance is kind of like a blanket word, and people like kind of mix up maintenance with like rehab. What I boiled it down to is I'm trying to not have my players get weaker. So when I say it like that, I find that I get more buy-in because, hey man, if you were hex bar deadlifting 280, and then if we don't touch a hex bar for 5 months and you're now at 210, maybe, you are getting weaker. I don't need you
Right.
to go higher than 280, and I'm just using like a 200-pound man pulling 280 off the floor in a hex bar position is not a crazy lift at all. 200 pounds of fucking
Right.
relative strong. Like we've done the prerequisites. You don't need to start at 280. But if they're constantly just maintaining 280 during their heavy amount of playing, that's great. Their posture is going to stay where it was. Their ability to feel confident over the ball is going to be the same throughout the season. They're gonna have the prerequisites to carry their bag or push the cart for 18 holes and maintain posture when they address the ball, hole 1 through 36 or 18, whatever they're playing, and feel confident. If they're getting weaker, 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 they're like, hey, I played great in the beginning of the season, but if you play great in the beginning of the season, April, May, June here, it doesn't matter because all our tournaments, like our club championships, are August, September,
Right.
October around here. So I played great and I slowly went down the cliff and I started playing bad in September is the sentence that breaks my heart. And they're like, why do you think that happened? And I'm like, remember that conversation we had before you froze your membership for the golf season? And I said, please don't do that, not because of a financial need, because I don't want you to see you lose your entire progress that you've done for these last 6 months of getting stronger, feeling good, having your club head speed jump, and to slowly trickle downhill breaks my heart. It happens every year. I had that conversation 3 times in the last 2 weeks. Two guys have bought in. They're back. They're back from the brink, and one guy is a golf pro, so he doesn't have a choice. So I wrote him an online program. So I was like, I'll call it 2.5 wins. I mean, he can't get to me. I get it. Work life balance does not exist as a teaching pro with also shop duties.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the interesting thing because I'm always curious, and this is a good subject of the frequency and the difference between, I guess, your off season and then your in season maintenance, especially when you're playing tournaments. And we see guys like Brooks Koepka and Rory doing some pretty heavy stuff like during like tournament weeks. And I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's depending on how their fitness is built in, right? Because like I said, the like maybe it was the first season of Full Swing when Brooks was like pounding weight, and he's like, "This is just normal for me," so he's not going to be sore as opposed to like somebody just jumping in there. But what do you like level off a little bit, or obviously you got your long term program? And this is for the college players and like the tournament players out there that are probably wondering how much should I be doing, during tournament season. Like what's that schedule look like for your players?
Yeah, we level off in our volume primarily. It'll be either rep based or load based, and there'll be some exercises where I'm comfortable pushing the reps here, like squat patterns are a little bit less demanding, especially if I'm just holding two dumbbells instead of a heavy bar over my back or
Mm-hmm.
in front. Like I'm not I'm not going to be tiptoeing into something that could linger into soreness as much as like it's going to be maintenance. But like I said, if you don't stop training, it's just a part of your game. Soreness isn't really going to become a factor as long as you're following a program that has some thought behind it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no program that I'm going to give that's going to say 100 kettlebell swings, 50 burpees, and 2 mile run with a weight vest, and then, do pull ups till failure. That's a badass military workout, but it has no relevance to your golf game.
Right.
So there'll be different players that'll tournament week will change, and then what we talk about with our player to make sure that they're as educated as possible is understanding that they have to practice that week beforehand. So like if you're going to play your buddies for on Sunday, I want you to play them for $100 or breakfast or dinner or lunch, whatever competitive juices we can get going there. I don't need the college kids to be betting money that most of them don't have any,
Mm-hmm.
but put something on the line, pink head cover, I don't care, on Sunday, and let's do the prep that you would do the week leading up to that and see how we feel. Now, we have kind of broken it out to 4 different players. Let's talk about like not just the tournament week. Let's talk about tournament day.
Yes.
So Rom and Rory, for example, do 20 minutes of really hard intensity lift, and then they kind of calm down and get ready to go play. Now, I've kind of put that in the category of like active lift, go hard, no worry about the central nervous system for those guys. They kind of like running, they like running hot, as I like to call it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a type of player. So one of my Corn Ferry players, I'm talking like landmine throws, med ball slams, as close as he can get it to the first tee, he does it.
Really?
He responds super well from like being all jacked up. Whereas like a guy like myself is a football player who's like, if I get jacked up, I am going to hook driver so far it's terrible. So that's not me,
Yeah.
right? That's not me. That's so the full workout guy that's like going hard. There's the targeted exercise. So like that's specific mobility and specific exercises that help a demand that you have in your swing. So if you struggle with lead leg balance, we are going to make sure that you're doing single leg both sides. We're working the balance exercises. We're doing the hinge. We're pulling on, the band. We're trying to test the balance, even if it's like throwing a ball. Like get your balance coordinated. Uh, Thoracic spine mobility could be another one, or opening up your hips. Those are their targeted workout. Again, like 20 minutes or so. And then some people like to make it really close to their tea time. I talked to kid on the Walker Cup. His pre-round routine starts 3 hours prior, and he does his workout pretty far away from when he plays, but he still works out. And that's based off a conversation where I said, try it out, see how you feel, do it in a competitive round. Don't do it. Don't find out on tournament week. Like find out when you're betting
Yeah.
$50 for dinner. So we've got, the full intense workout. We've got a targeted exercises. We've got, namaste, yoga, chilling,
Okay. Yeah.
mobility, like
Yeah. Yeah.
chilling,
Meditation.
meditation, right? So we're talking like yoga, mobility, movement. Those guys exist. Not for me. And then we have energy expenditure. I put myself in an energy expenditure category because like if I go do some kettlebells and some bands and go for like a light jog, I find that like 2 miles, a light jog, some stretching, a little bit of kettlebell work, take a shower, go play. I play my best,
Interesting.
but
Yeah.
but I need to like kind of burn it off. I get some excited jitters going.
Yeah.
I need to walk out and already have like settled down. So like caffeine intake for me needs to be like I'm not bringing a coffee on the course with me if I'm trying to win $10 off my friends. Um, I do love coffee, but if I'm trying to beat you for any type of money, I am not bringing it with me.
You're putt
Um,
putting first green.
yeah, I'm hook and drive. Yeah, I'm a terrible example, but I did I found out for myself by trying all four of those to see how I play my best golf, and most of my clients they have a plan now. So not having a plan is not acceptable, especially at any higher level. So if you're
Yeah.
trying to make Walker Cups, you're trying to win club championships, or you're trying to make it on Corn Ferry Tour, don't guess. Have
Yeah.
a plan. So yeah,
Yeah. So what
four
you're
four
saying
breakouts
is
is what I have.
it depends, just like anything
Yeah,
else, right? But I mean,
educated. It depends.
yeah, but it's you're testing, right? It's like that's probably the most difficult. Like for my players, it's like figuring out what a pre-round routine looks like and how we get the best results, right? So you're sort of tracking, how they feel, and every day's different. That's why golf is so flipping hard, right? It's like every day our body feels different, our brain feels different. Did we sleep well? What did you eat for dinner last night? Like that's the
Yeah,
tough thing for the fitness professionals, like dealing with all that. It's got to be even harder than what we're dealing with.
yeah, yeah. The saying is like I like to say to my players, they're like, "Hey, something's off here with this, that, or the other." I'm like, "Well, at the end of the day, brother, athletes
There you
adjust."
go.
Oh, you're hitting it right today. Okay, you're in the middle of the round. Start aiming more left. I've only caddied one official round in my life, so I'm not going to be a super helpful. But being inside the ropes and caddying, I've been inside the ropes twice. I've caddied once now, and I've learned more during those rounds than I
I
expected
tell
to.
you, it's a lot of pressure. The caddy, I think, is the harder job. What to say,
Yeah,
picking the right club, making sure you get the right yardage. There's a lot of stuff it can go sideways real quick, and then you typically get blamed, especially
yeah.
if you're
Luckily,
caddying for
I only had to make one call, and he was all juiced up, and he wanted to go 7-iron, and I was like, absolutely not, dude. Hit the 8. And he goes, "Are you sure?" I said, "Hit the effing 8," and he stomped it. I was like, "Let's go!"
That's
I mean,
awesome.
it's like I piped up on 17. That was it. I didn't really. Other than that, he was like, "I like to be distracted." I was like, "All right, let's talk about like vintage cars or something,
There you go.
watches." I don't know. I came up with
That,
something.
that's a good caddy. All right, so let's talk about your four exercises. Again, going back to like the basics, right? And I thought this was really good. Of like because again, I'm a sort of a part-time putting coach, and people come to me like, those are more drills? I'm like, do the six really good ones, and like come talk to me, right? We'll figure out the rest. But it's like you don't need 12. You just need about four or six things that will work and sort of build on that momentum. But I think it's the four exercises. You talked about this at your TPI talk a few years ago, right? The
Yeah.
strength window. So go through those four exercises in a little bit of detail, because I think this would be great for the listeners. Whether I work at a club where there's an older demographic, you can
Hmm.
kind of talk to them as well, but also the tournament and the tour player.
Yeah. So it kind of breaks out into patterns. So I always tell people like in that talk, I'm giving a 30-minute talk. I kind of have to pick and choose.
That's right.
But, like with everything, you're going to try to avoid the it depends, but I'll just talk about the pattern. So,
Yeah.
a deadlift is kind of a non-debatable exercise. And the biggest that I always start with, I say deadlift is king. How you deadlift is not as important. When you deadlift, how you move, and what muscles you're using is where you should fall in love with. I always tell people, fall in love with patterns. Don't fall in love with exercises. Just because you think a traditional barbell deadlift looks cool or is cool or however it makes you feel, it might not be best for you. You might be better off in a hex bar deadlift or two kettlebell deadlift or two dumbbells. It doesn't matter to me. If someone says my grip hurts on a barbell, okay, one, noted. I need to work on some grip strength for that person.
Yep.
Number two, here's two dumbbells. Did these feel good? Yeah, they feel great. Okay, is that heavy enough? No, that bar was much heavier. Okay, now I've got two 50-pound dumbbells. The bar was 45. We just increased our weight just because it feels better in their hands. Now they're doing a heavier deadlift. It feels better for them and they're hitting the pattern. So that's why I say don't fall in love with exercises, fall in love with patterns. So deadlift is the king. The pull patterns. So pull up is my favorite. Right? I would like all my clients to be doing pull ups at some point in time. Some are either rings, TRX, but oftentimes what I do is I put them underneath a bar and have them pull up.
Yeah.
So they're underneath the bar and pulling up from
They're so
underneath it.
hard. I know. I trained myself to like be able. When I was lifting a couple years ago more when I wasn't running. It's like just doing like an assisted for so many times, like to get it to where you could. And I was excited to do like 10. It's like it's so difficult to do it. Obviously, you got to get lighter or get stronger. One of the two.
Yeah, nobody likes to hear the easiest way to get better at pull-ups is to be smaller.
Yes, lose weight.
Nobody likes to hear that. Yeah, they're like, "How do I get better at this?" I'm like, "Oh, you're gonna hate this answer."
Oh,
But yeah, start with the TRX is usually easier.
good.
Um, Pull-ups, I think I narrowed it down to four. My third would probably be a lunge or a step
I
up.
think it was Farm Walk was one of them. Is that what you did?
Yeah, carry.
Yeah,
So
farmers
yeah,
carry. Is
so
that the same thing? Like where you just carry the weight around?
yeah, farm area is two weights off your hips with your shoulders back in good posture.
Hmm.
You're gonna hear me say the word posture a lot because nobody gets worse at golf by improving their posture. So if you me and let's say you've never worked with one of my clients before, and I've never worked with one of your clients before, if you send them to me and they come back with better posture, you're never going to be unhappy with the results of them training with me. So if they show up with bare minimum better posture from seeing me, you know, most swing coaches are going to be very
Yeah.
happy with that. And so carries is your anti-rotation, so you're not wobbling when you walk with two heavy loads. And then the last one would be a step up, which is a squat pattern, but we're working on that hip hinge as well as the hip dominant movement of hip extension and hip flexion. So stepping up onto something, it could be 6 inches. I'm not going to really split hairs on it. As long as it's not like way high,
Hmm.
6, 12, 8, 18 inches, step up with some load in your hand, flex and extend your hip. If you only worked on 4 exercises for rest of your life, like those would be some pretty good ones. Mix in a push up, but
Yeah. I love it. Like if everybody just got in the gym and just started doing small doses of those four exercises, they're going to start to get better, right? Regardless of what sport they're playing, but definitely golf.
yeah, those four patterns or exercises, fall in love
Yeah.
with either of them. Yeah, fall in love with the pattern first. If a deadlift doesn't work, if a pull up doesn't work, there's a different version of all of those. But yeah, those are comfortable take homes that I can hand to anybody. And if somebody disagrees with me, I'm like, I don't usually have time to argue with somebody online, but if it's in the comment section and it's good for the algorithm, maybe I'll jump in the mud every once in a while.
So talk about what did you learn? What are some of the lessons in your field, but also the life lessons you've learned from Jason Glass?
There's a lot.
Give me a few.
From Glass, I think I'll go with what not enough young coaches understand. And both I've noticed this in the golf space as well, because at the end of the day, we're all coaches. Um, whatever label you want to give yourself, hopefully somebody is saying the word coach, because I think coach is, a
Yeah.
sign of respect. It's not I'm your fitness trainer, or like coach has got some respect behind it. But when we were sitting down with Jason, we were talking about. I was all excited to learn how to work with guys like Adam Hadwin or Brooke Henderson. Like I was excited to learn those things when I signed up for his mentorship and I went in person. I flew all the way to Vancouver from Boston, so almost as far as I could go. I was excited to learn that stuff, and he said, "Duff, you're doing all of those things great. You need to learn how to reach more people. So, how to market myself, how to interact with the client to make sure that they are comfortable signing up for another session or joining my gym or actually being invested in the session instead of being the best performance coach I could be, is being the best coach I could be, the best communicator could be, how to put myself out there, how to speak, how to
Yeah.
communicate, because if you let the football coach out, I'm just going to talk a hole through somebody, and they might be motivated, they might have the best workout in their life. That only goes so far. If I'm able to be like,
Yeah.
hey man, how this exercise progress making you feel, making connection, learn some stuff with them. So I thought I was going to go in and learn all like, hey, actually, this is what all the tour pros are doing. And instead, I came out with like what a young coach Duff needed to hear, instead of being like, a deadlift isn't going to, a better deadlift technique isn't what's going to set me apart from my peers. It's my ability to communicate that deadlift's purpose, point, follow up with the guy,
Yeah.
make sure that, they have a relationship with me that feels, mutually invested. Then this is the coolest single leg chop while standing on a Bosu ball. I don't do that anyway, but
No, that's
I
perfect.
would say that's my big takeaway.
No, I think, and that's a great lead in because what I wanted to talk about was, and this is where our sort of side of the business parallels is the coaching piece, right? The communication, the ability to present. We talked a little bit before we started recording of like you want to get out there and do some speaking, but that's great to say, but then you have to like train that, right? Or how do you improve that? So what are some of the specifics of what he told you, or what have you been doing to like say, hey, I want to be a better presenter of my information or be a better communicator and a coach to my players?
I think the first thing for me was like understanding tone. Like I already have a naturally loud voice. So if I get excited and I just talk through you, you're not necessarily absorbing the material. So like the best tip that I got was from Thomas Plummer, is like, when we're sitting down and we're talking, we're presenting, I want you to have the same confidence as you would sitting across from your buddy, convincing him to have the next beer with you. Hey, no, man, don't leave. This beer is really important. Like, we got some stuff to talk about, dude. Like, where are you in your life? Like, it's more important for me to feel like I'm selling you on hanging out with me and having one more beer than me get super excited and talk a hole through your chest. So I say from a communication piece, like one stood out to me, and then the other piece was like you have to fail. So like at some point in time, you have to be willing to put yourself in front of a crowd. Someone has to be first. So,
Right.
like, my first presentation was at the Haven Country Club in Boylston, Massachusetts. And I would probably not be very proud to see that work. Luckily, I have been invited back and I have improved every time I've gone. And now at this point, like, I'm comfortable uh, establishing myself in the material, how I can present to, be confident sending somebody a bill for my services because I know I'm going to over deliver on it rather than like your first session where you've never even put a slide deck together before, and I'm gonna hit somebody with a $5,000 bill, just something after to see if I can get it and fall out of my face. Like you're better off having some of those sessions for $0, hoping you get one client out of it, and actually exposing yourself to it. So like actually going to do it and being afraid to fail. Now you're making me think of my first two speaking engagements were
That's okay. I always
so
tell people
bad. I was probably so loud.
you're never good at the first few, like, or whatever, but it's like you choose, you can either quit because nobody wants to speak publicly. That's one of the biggest fears. They say you'd rather be, in the coffin than be given the eulogy, right? So it's like you have that decision to say, okay, I want to get better at this because it's important for my job. And I said that I was a super shy kid as a young teacher and had to go, and I went to Toastmasters. I did, a lot of reading, and a lot of mentors like helped me along the way. So I'm always curious because even on your side, again, it's like the presenting piece is so important to getting your message out there. As we talk about on the podcast here for the young coaches, is the difference between the IQ versus the EQ, right? It's the getting the information is the easy part, right? I mean, it's all out there, but the EQ, the emotional intelligence, is the part that I think we have to do a better job of training our young fitness professionals or, teaching professionals. So sounds like you're getting that. As far as experience is huge, right? It's like getting in there, and then, but for you, it's the coaching piece. Like I love what you said about being called a coach is a sign of respect, right? I just got the Strauss-Ball Award for our section. And it's like, that was probably the biggest award that I ever got because they called Bill Strauss-Ball coach, right? And I always say I love it when my kids or my students call me coach. So I love that you call yourself Coach Kevin Duffy. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think I definitely it's a sign of respect, and it's just a title that's earned, and should be. You should take that responsibility very seriously when you're either if you're in front of adults, and I don't oftentimes go out with my clients because it's a different relationship that you have, and
Sure.
it's sometimes like if people think of you more of as a friend as a coach, like every once in a while it's okay to remind people like, hey, we're here to work. I
Yeah.
am not. This is like if somebody walks out of your session and they did at the end of the day they don't even have some sweat on their t-shirt, like you didn't do it right. Like but also like one of my longtime clients, he walked into a session one morning at 6 a.m. He had 2 cups of coffee, and he goes, "We're not working out today." And he just handed me a cup of coffee and was like, "We're just going to talk. We're going to talk about this, that, and the other." And like we talked about fitness. His food was falling off the tracks. And
Yeah.
you bring me a coffee, I am bribable. It was a good cup. He knew me. He got himself Dunkin's. He went to a different shop and got me my espresso. So he
You gotta
bribed me
admire
pretty
that.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's part of it, right? Like we're, psychologists. You got to wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, I try to do less of that. I'm not, that's not my strong suit. My EQ is high, but like my empathy is moderate. Your BS, like, hey, that
Yeah.
deadlift's still important. Okay, let's get back to that.
So here's one. And I just was thinking about this today when I was working. I was kind of prepared to talk to you as swing coaches and as teaching professionals or golf professionals, the busier we get to like really being good at our job, the less golf we actually get to play. But with you as a fitness professional performance coach, like how often do you actually get to actually work out and like take care of yourself and your body? And I would think that'd be important because you don't want to roll up with an overweight trainer, right?
Oh,
But
no.
like talk about, I mean, because I follow you on Instagram, like this guy's getting after it. Like you're actually working out and you're fit and you look good. Like tell me a little
Yeah.
bit about that side of
Well, so obviously I can't get out of shape, right?
it. Right.
I always tell people though, in the winter, I am I coach super heavy. I get in my best shape in the summer. So
Yeah.
in the summer, I have a little bit more time because unfortunately my client list is a little lower because people are playing more.
Yeah. Makes
Um,
sense.
it makes sense. I also I do more cardio in the summer, but people think I lift all day. I built a gym in my basement despite owning a gym because I, just like everybody else, don't want to be at work all
I understand.
day. So I'm definitely active every single day. But the most important thing is for me is I'm trying not to swear because I know this is a southern show here. I'm
No,
working on
no.
not
There's been
swearing.
plenty of curse words. Get it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't eat like an asshole is the most important thing. Like during, if I can't control my fitness, let's just say it's been a long day. I've been in the gym for 12 hours. Like I'm not sneaking in a lift today. When I get home, I'm having a boring, smart dinner. Like
Yeah.
last night, my wife made a delicious Cobb salad, and I would have put Cobb salad as like a sneaky, fantastic post golf round order. Cobb salad.
I love a Cobb salad.
Oh my God, so good. It was so good. But then tonight I have your podcast. Patrick got home. I had sausage, pasta, cheese, done. Right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but I lifted today. So,
Sure. Yeah.
um, yeah. So I don't train as common as people think, but I'm active every single day. I probably get 240 minute lifts in and try to not answer any emails between them. But like sometimes the brain gets going when you're moving, and as a young business owner, like I got to keep motoring. So my most
Yeah.
important thing is don't eat like an ass. uh, Stay active. Don't eat like an ass. And in the summer, I train much harder than I do in the winter. In the winter, I'm coaching my butt off. So
Yeah.
uh, not eating stupid is really important.
That's awesome. So what are the little like what's your morning routine? I'm curious about that. Like little things that kind of get you going that would make it a good day for you.
Yeah, so I'll give you the week. So Monday is an admin day. So Monday I'm in this office because otherwise the business doesn't run. I got to answer all those emails. I got to get the online clients all set up. If you want to Zoom with me, they're like, "How's Friday afternoon?" I'm like, "Monday." Um,
Yeah.
but then I open the gym on Tuesday and Thursday. So I like to. I'm a morning person to a point. So. uh, I would love to wake up at 6 every day. That would be great, but uh, that doesn't work because so I wake up at 4:30 on Tuesday and Thursdays. Those are my early days, and then usually 6 the rest of the days. So if for whatever reason on Monday, if I see like 7 or 8 on the clock, I'm like, I did it, slept in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I chug two cups of water, and then I start making my pride and joy is my espresso machine in my house. If anybody
Yeah.
follows me on Instagram, they know I'm all over it.
Yeah.
But then it's pretty simple. Some either potatoes or an English muffin, 3 eggs, and chicken sausage, and then I'm out the door. You're not catching me eating Dunkin's for breakfast ever. It is a terrible way to start your day.
Yeah.
My other tweet, I know you brought up one of my tweets.
Yeah.
My most angered tweet is when I tell people Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts is fast food. They hate me.
Oh yeah.
It's, but also, I mean, if Instagram or Twitter or Facebook has taught us anything, like hate is good for algorithm. So when I put that tweet out there, like, hey, just a reminder, these things are fast food. It's like, hate you, I hate you, I hate you. That's terrible for you. Stop eating it. Find a local breakfast shop, call
Yeah.
in your eggs, or I've timed it. It takes 6 minutes at max to make scrambled eggs, maximum. And that's like, I get dressed in between it, come back, kill the heat, we're done. But you don't have 6 minutes? Like, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well,
that's my morning routine. Like, you're not catching me in the Dunkin's drive-through line ever.
it's cool.
Also, terrible for my stomach.
Let's take a 2 minute break. You got a little bit of time? You got a couple
Yeah,
more minutes? All right, 2 minute break. Be
cool.
right back.
He broke.
Yeah, that was me. I had like coffee and drinking a seltzer here, so it's like, yep. I want to keep
Yeah,
going. I didn't want to like cut it short. All
all
right,
good.
so yeah, so a couple quick hitters, and then I'll let you go. Um, how has a failure or a roadblock in your life set you up for later success? Do you have a favorite story?
Yeah, so COVID forced my hand for sure to. I had thought about breaking off on my own. I had wanted to break out on my own. Um, I started the process. I kind of went into the north end of Boston with a what I would consider a poor decision for a business partner. Luckily for me, my inherent distrust saved me. So no finances were combined. So I ate a lease for a little while during COVID, but other than that, I would say that like forcing the hand to look myself in the mirror and be like, listen, it's you. You can provide for yourself, or you can let others try to help you provide for yourself. So I put all my chips on me. I always tell my wife is that she should have said no, but I'm glad she didn't. I was like, I'm going to open a gym in 2020 in the Massachusetts area, which is one of the strictest lockdown states in America. And she said, go for it. I was like, okay. And I did it. And I look back, I'm like, really? You
That's a
didn't
good
say no. You didn't
that's a good
hesitate at
partner
all.
right there. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
for sure.
so that's I mean that's massive self-belief in yourself, right? So where do
Yeah.
you think that comes from?
Um, I think that it's confidence in the skills that I've built up for like if you're same thing like if you're great at framing a house, you can start you can start your own framing business. If you're an awesome mechanic, you can do it. I learned that like what I was doing from a coaching standpoint was working with people. It had been productive with every gym I've ever worked for, worked at, establishment I've been through. So luckily enough, I was able to bet on me, and I think skill acquisition and I mean, I've worked way harder jobs than being a strength coach. I used to climb trees. To I climbed trees with a chainsaw dangling between my legs,
Oh my gosh.
and I mulched beds in some really rich suburbs around this area with 90-degree heat. I was a former wrestler, so being a strength coach in an AC room is an easy comparison.
Yeah, I mean that's self-awareness too, right? It's like it's tough to know sometimes I think whether you are as good as you think you are, especially as a younger guy, you know? So it's like obviously people come around you and alongside you that kind of tell you, "Hey, you are worthy."
Yeah,
And
much
that
better than I used to be. Man, I thought I was better then.
dude, it's always the same.
It's an
It's like
idiot.
yeah, it's we've all been through it. The whole we think we know it all phase, and then the better we get, the more we didn't know anything.
Yes.
So, so an interesting question that I've asked a lot of folks is there anything in your life right now that you're a beginner at?
Begin. Oh, father.
Okay, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was about
The
to be like,
most beginner.
not
There's
really.
no.
Oh,
So, what have you
I'm
learned from
19
being
months in.
from being a father? What have you learned so far?
Oh God. Well, actually, here this conversation with my brother was hilarious. He goes, he's Patrick's first babysitter. Me and Nally wanted to get a steak dinner, and he goes, "Dude, I don't know what I'm doing." I was like, "I'm only 4 weeks ahead of you. Change his diaper when he cries. Give
Yeah.
him milk."
The only problem, yeah, the only difference is he's mine. That's
Yeah, I was
okay.
like, "Dude, I'm 4 weeks ahead of you." My mom's like, "Are you okay if I do this?" Oh yeah, do whatever you want. Yeah, I lived. Yeah, can I take him to the aquarium? Like, I don't see why not. Um,
Oh, that's
now I
great.
would say that like I'm learning that I need to do a better job of prioritizing getting all my stuff done so I can be when I'm home. So like
Yeah.
I actively like try to take my phone at 6 p.m. and kill it. So I try to, yeah, really hard. I have
You can't do it.
what that call is the master lock, as in give it to Allie. So yeah, I try to give it to my wife at 6 p.m. Like I gotta get off. But like
Good for
also,
you.
I don't want to be answering a work text at 8 and 9 o'clock at night. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. You text me at 9 or 10 or 11, I will text you back at 4. Don't text me that late. I remind people all the time. You can reach me 6 to 6. It's 12 hours. Text me anytime, 6 to 6. I got you.
Yeah.
After 6, I'm trying not to answer you. I mean, I break it every once in a while. But if I break it, hey, breaking the rule. I apologize for the late text. You're in tomorrow at 7, right? If they say yes, okay, the alarm is set. If they say no, I'm checking in with my early clients. You're there, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
that's
trying to be present, and I'm a brand new dad. So those are my a beginner at both.
it's it. I mean, your head's in the right place. Good luck with that.
Mhm.
It's be where your feet are, right? It's a tough deal, especially the more successful you get. It's even more difficult, but it's definitely a good strategy.
I would love to hire a social media guy to just film the stuff and put it up for me so I don't have to do it, but we're not
Yeah,
there yet.
that's exactly.
Yep.
I saw your last post where you guys were struggling with some audio stuff.
So
It's
annoying. That's why I hire a guy and he shoots batch. He comes in, I tagged him in it. I was like, hey, I'll see you next Friday.
that's money well spent because I mean
Oh, yeah.
it's so important. You know, like people are like, oh, I'm against social media. I'm like, are you gonna survive? Like you got to evolve, right? I mean, I've always tried to be ahead of the curve. You know, that's why I started this podcast 6 years ago. It's like, why did you start? I'm like, because this is the next deal. Like this is the book. I used to read a lot of
Yep.
books, right? I used to listen to a lot of CDs and audio tapes. This is the next. I mean, people are going to consume content in their car. They're going to save time. It's all about saving time. So this is how you do it.
I have subscription to Audible.
There you go.
It is
Yeah. Yep.
how I read when people are like, "Oh, what are you reading?" I just answer with what I'm listening to on Audible.
Yeah.
I don't differentiate. I'm like, "Hey, I'm not reading. I'm listening." But also, if Audible existed when I was a kid with, going through some learning disabilities, man, would my learning curve been so much faster.
Mine
Oh,
too.
where was that in college? I would have read so many. I
Right.
would have read all those books for real instead of skimming the cliff notes.
Yeah. I had dyslexia, like a slight form of dyslexia and learning disability, and I would have been so much better.
Oh, give me Audible all day.
Right. So that's a good segue, and then I'll give you the last question. But like, what are you reading right now, or some of the your favorite books or audible books? That
They are not work related.
perfect. That's those are the best ones. What do you into?
Yeah. So Audible. So podcasts sometimes are work related. I'll listen to some business development stuff. I'm listening to a lot of TED Talks.
Okay.
I listen to my boy Jason Glass's podcast because it's a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of entertainment and what does he call it? He calls it edutainment.
Yes.
Um, I listen to his pod. I listen to comedy podcasts all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But the books right now are the Terminal List series. The guy's name's Jack Carr, and he's a Navy SEAL turned author, and he
Okay.
writes fictional. It's fictional, but there's some real stuff in there mixed in. So I've been absolutely cramming those books in. So I listened to like I don't know the whole series. There's like 8 books recently, and I've just been
Okay. I have to check
rifling
it
through
out.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Big
it's a
big
great listen.
Jocko Willink. I'm sure you probably
Oh yeah,
got some his stuff's unbelievable. Big Goggins
yeah.
fan. I'm a like
I met
wannabe runner, like ultra runner, and like he's like the guy.
Yeah, don't blow out your feet like him, though. My God.
Right. Oh,
Yeah, I met
man.
in my time in Pensacola. I was able to spend some time with Marcus Luttrell, so that was pretty cool.
I bet.
That guy's a cool guy to have a conversation with. Very
Oh,
intimidating. He's huge.
yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah, glad he's on our team.
Right. That's awesome. Okay, last question, then I'll let you go. Appreciate your time, man. This has been
Not happy
fantastic.
to be here. This is a blast.
So if you could get a message or had to get a message to the world, billions of people, and put it on a gigantic billboard, what would your message be and why?
And can it not be the quote that I leave on the gym wall? 'Cause I like that
No, it's not. It can be. You can have multiple billboards, but like, give me something different if you want.
one. Okay, all right. Well, if I'm going multiple billboards, it's do the simple things savagely well for uncommon results.
Love it. Yeah.
I'm putting that one on there. If you can, because you can move that from the weight room to life. You could just, I love it. And not just because I came up with it. That's not super conceited now. Maybe not that one. One message I would say is, so the being a new dad and being in a leadership role for most of my life in sports or whatever, I would say like something along the lines of leading by example. Like be proud of the people you're like. I want people to be proud to call me their friend. Be in a room or have a situation that's worth toasting to, and make sure that you're creating a difference rather than like, even if it's the simple things like putting your grocery cart away or being a good human. Some Cameron Haynes sayings like "No one cares, work harder." Like some of those things like that is like be proud to like leave behind something. So the interactions that you have with people matter, and how you how you carry yourself, your character, and you know those type of quotes are what always resonates with me. But yeah, I'll probably stick with my first one. Do the simple things
Yeah.
savagely well.
Yeah.
Simple things could be also to be like, put away your grocery cart, be a good guy,
Open a
don't
door.
be an ass,
Yeah.
open a door.
I love it, dude. Like what
Yeah,
you're describing there is what I call leaving a legacy.
yeah, there we
Right. So
go.
I wanna show up in as many testimonials when I pass as possible.
Yeah.
Right. Which, like you're saying, you've affected other people in a positive way, and that's exactly what you're doing, my friend.
Yeah.
I can tell you that.
I
Tell you that
I
for
hope
sure.
to affect more. I hope to reach more people with a simple message about like, hey, golf fitness or fitness is accessible, it's attainable, it's not as complex as you think it is. You can do it. It will help you.
Yeah.
Those are the goals.
So good, man. So good. Yeah. And I love your mindset. I love your energy. Folks out there, you gotta follow him on Instagram because I love the kick in the door. Like you got maybe close that story and then tell everybody kind of how they can get in touch with you and follow you some
Yeah,
stuff.
I got so bored watching people's social medias like lecture, like this is a deadlift, this is how you move. Da, da, da. Oh my God. I was like, this is boring. So I started like making the weirdest entrance I could think. And so like obviously I'm in a nice weight room. I can't like shatter a door. So I'd like open the door and fake like I kicked it in. So now it's I don't know if it's a tagline, but it's like how I start my weight. I like open the door and do like a big old high kick. Like I got to make sure to stretch before I do it. That's how like
Right?
I'm getting
Okay,
like
Hammy.
punter height. I've
Yeah,
strained my
it's
hamstring.
impressive.
Yeah, I've strained my hamstring doing it for sure. Um, Bam, coach's minute. People are like, I don't know what he's talking about. I'm in.
I
So,
love it.
it seems to work. I've got more of them coming up because I haven't done them in a while because another
You've been
post I
busy.
put up. If I'm not posting, I'm coaching. But
That's
yeah,
okay.
my platforms are Coach Kevin Duffy on everything. But we just redid the website finally. So it's Train RPS, rotational power strength is the name. TrainRPS.com
Yeah.
is the team website where me and my head coach Tim are providing providing most of our people the online world or where to find us.
Yeah, you got the other guy, that guy works with you. You have a swing coach that you've had on a few of your videos as well, right?
Yeah, so we have a lot of swing coaches. So we work
Yeah.
with we're obviously in that greater Boston area. My
Yeah.
gym's in Acton. I'm probably 15 minutes to 3 private clubs, 20 to 3 more, 25 to 3 more. So we work with swing coaches from all over. We kind of don't have like in our facility like one coach,
Mm-hmm.
but we have the director of instruction at Nishotic, Mackenzie Wells is probably the one that we work with the most. But yeah, we work with Pat Bigelow. We work with
Yeah, I've seen him on
you know,
there.
yeah, Pat's a good dude. He's been coaching with us a lot in the area, but we also work with like guys at Winchester, Weston, Wellesley, all over the place. So yeah, we're covering the map. I'm not going to argue with who I'm working with. The guys at TPC, my boy Coach Dan down at Pin High. But yeah, I coach with plenty of coaches. But no, the other strength coach that I hired is actually a physical therapist because you got to hire up, man. I can't just coach another
Yeah.
meathead like myself. So I hired Dr. Tim,
Yeah, he's
and
the one that's sticking needles in you, right? Doing the
yeah. I don't know if you saw that, but I was
yes.
demoing what not to do in a swing recently. I demoed if you early extend and turn,
Yeah, I saw
which
that.
yeah, so if you early extend and turn, it will lead to reverse spine angle, some really big tension in your hip. I did that too much in a demo and hurt my hip.
So you had to get the
And so
dry
I was
needling.
like, yeah, so I told Tim, I go, hey, I did the thing we talked about not doing. I did it. And so he's been dry. I feel great right now, but on Tuesday, oof, I was in a bad spot. I was like, Tim, I did the thing again. He was like, did you over demonstrate again? I go, yep.
I love it, man.
Coaching's a tough
Well,
game out here. Don't tell them
yeah.
tell them what not to do. Don't do the thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's rough.
Yeah, don't reverse spine angle or early extend. It could hurt
Awesome. What a great way to close.
you.
Well, thanks so much for your time, my man. It's great to get to know you, and hopefully we can build a relationship in the future. And let me know if I can ever help you in any
Yeah,
way.
help me get out of the snow. I think it's snowing tomorrow. I'll come see you. Yeah, I'm happy
Absolutely.
to join the
Love to have you.
guru.
All right, my man. Take
Thank
care.
you for having me on.
Stay warm.
I will.
Absolutely.